Well, folks, welcome inside Black and Gold. Steve Geller, Jeff Nowak coming to you after a Saints 34-10 loss to the Rams. Back from La La Land. Jeff, how were things out there? What was the whole scene like right after the Dodgers just brought home, we're bringing home a World Series title?
Yeah, can we just talk about the Dodgers winning, because that seems a lot more interesting of a conversation than having to talk about the Saints game. Is that something we can do?
We're doing a limited edition Dodgers podcast.
Yeah, it'll just be a one-off. Let's just talk about the Dodgers game. But no, I mean that was fun. I enjoyed that. The funny thing was, on the way home, we sat on the plane on the tarmac for a while, and the reason was the Dodgers, who take two planes because they have one plane for their team and one plane for everyone else. They blocked us in. We couldn't get we couldn't get by them. They had to tow us. They had to tow us around the Dodgers two planes and all the crazy. Anyway, but yeah, that was a bad game. It was a bad football game. I don't know how else to put it. This is a bad football team playing bad football. I have a lot of negative things to say. I don't have many positive things to say. I did come up with a few because that's my shtick. Is even after the worst games, I come up with some positive things to say. But you ran 40 plays in an NFL football game. You held the ball for 16 minutes. 16. The Rams almost had matched your time of possession on one drive in the third quarter.
Oh. Yeah, this Saints team, it's like just when you think you've seen it all kind of thing, or when you could expect less, they find a new low, which hurts.
Right, and here's the thing, like, I went into that game, and you can attest to this, being like, guys, this is probably going to go badly.
Yeah, right.
Like, why was I trying to set the standard for that? Because, like, I expected it to be bad. I didn't expect it to be that bad. And we've seen the Rams over the last 3 years. This reminded me of the game in 2023. Remember? Even, like, they've won 4 of their final 5 games. That was a Saints team that down the stretch of that season was playing well. And they still went out to LA and got wrecked by this Rams team. It's just a good team. It's a good offense. It's a good coaching staff. Matthew Stafford is a good quarterback. And when you face that type of team, it just, they did to the Saints what the Saints did to other teams during the Drew Brees, Sean Payton era, right? Like, it reminded me of the times they would face, like, the Panthers in, like, week 15, and the Saints were 12-3, and the Panthers were 5-10, or the numbers don't match up, but you get the idea. And it's like, you knew that this was going to be a 20-point win. It was just a question of how you got there. And this felt like that, because that's a team with a plan. That's a team with ambitions. It's a team with the quarterback and the defense and the coach and the scheme. And you are a team that has none of that. And that's how it looked, and that's what it was.
It was that terrible, the cliche of JV versus varsity, and that's what it looked like.
Bobby has said that, like, after 6 different games this year.
This one really did, though. It's like
all of his rants start with, like, I don't know. Don't you have to score points to win?
You really
Every
do.
Single one.
You really do.
Sometimes I the old one, like the one from 2 weeks ago, will autoplay, and I'll have to listen to it for 30 seconds before I realize, oh, this isn't the current one. This is the old one. But it sounds exactly the same because it's all the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah, it's really sad to see a lot of the same things, and not just offensively, the ineptitude to score, but with defensively. For me, I just got so fed up and tired of the tackling issues. And it seems like Saints guys just, for some reason, they bounce off the defenders. I don't know what's going on. It's wild to me.
Well, I think late in the game they were just gassed, and demoralized. Like, the fourth quarter of that game was when the other team has the ball for 47 minutes. You're not gonna, and it's the defense's fault for not getting off the field. I mean, like,
I think it was early on too, though.
Drive. Huh?
I think it was early on too, though.
Oh, well, yeah, Puka Nacua. Like, that's why I kept talking going in. Like, my X factor was, can you tackle Puka Nacua? They can't.
Nope.
They cannot. And they can't cover Devontae Adams. They can't tackle Puka Nacua. The tight ends are just running by themselves. The Rams ran 13 personnel on, like, 40-something% of their plays, and they scored 4 touchdowns. So it's 3 tight ends on the field. So it's not like oh, this is such a dynamic offense, we can't keep up with it. They're just better. They have a better plan. And so I'm down on a lot of stuff. There's a few things that I'll point to that went reasonably well, and we'll do that in the final segment. I'm going to be really angry in the second segment. In the first segment, I kind of want to talk about, okay, just some general stuff. I want to get into the trade deadline and like who do we think should be moved? How aggressive do we think the Saints will be? We'll get into that in the first segment. But yeah, it's just you want to, and I've talked about this a lot. Like you look at the Panthers last year, and they had a really rough start to the season. We did it for them, right? Like they came to the Superdome and they got trained. There was a train wreck for them against the team that ultimately won 5 games. But by the time you got to the second half of the season, you're like, oh, that team's playing better. You know, the football is improving. You're getting closer to winning. And I see this Saints team is getting further away. And that's the most frustrating thing is you don't see the progress. You don't see the scheme kind of settling in, players settling into the scheme. You don't see development of young players. I think Jonas Sanker, he had a really nice stretch to start his career. He has been, just not even visible because he's been so far away from the action over the last couple of weeks. So, it's just there's so little to be happy about. And I don't blame people for looking at everything on this staff, on this front office, and saying, why is it still here? Why are you sticking with this? Like, what about this is working? Because so little of what the Saints and the Pelicans, this entire organization from top to bottom, so little of the decisions they have made have actually come out in the positive. Like what's worked? What has worked over the last 5 years for either organization, and how much has actually changed because of that?
I was bummed out from the game too because I thought you would at least get a better read on Tyler Shough, and it's still like an incomplete on the report card for him. I didn't see way enough. It was like I got a glimpse of him at an extended practice, and then it was over.
Yeah, it did. It felt like a preseason, like a joint practice more than a game. Because it's like, oh, he had a nice completion, and it was a fumble. Oops. Okay,
All right, and then he's gone.
He got him into the red zone. Actually, let's take him off the field for this 4th down. We don't need to see if he can do it. Let's see what 35-year-old Taysom Hill has. Well, why not? It's the 4th quarter. Where the game's over. Why not give the ball to Taysom Hill for no reason? Anyway, I have a whole Kellen Moore spiel I want to get into. So that's this cold open that ended up being a hot open, but whatever. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to get more into the game. Tell us what you think. We'll go through some comments here. Again, I want to talk about the trade deadline, who we think should move, how aggressive the Saints should be, all that stuff. Then we'll get into the studs and duds in the second and third segments. Just an unhappy day. The season's half over. I'm looking at this as half empty. But hey, it'll end at some point.
The sad November rain.
Jeez, gosh. I don't know, man. All right, who dat? Go Saints. We'll be right back. And we are back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller coming at you after the Saints fell to the Rams 34-10. It's one of those games that, I don't even know if that score is indicative of the blowout that it was. I mean, the Rams, they very much called off the dogs in the second half. They lost a touchdown from Davis Allen because he got too aggressive with a face mask. So best play Jonas Sanker, I think it was made all day, was getting his face mask pulled aggressively by the tight end, because then that turned into the missed kick. I guess, it's a bummer that Justin Reed doesn't get a blocked kick because Josh Carty kicked it so far to the right to avoid him that it didn't just kick it into him. Although it's probably a smart play because if you kick it into him, it gets blocked. They might return it for a touchdown. But yeah. And so, I mean, they should have been 27-0 at the end of the first half before that final drive, but whatever. Steve, how was the mood in the post game? How's Bobby doing? Is he okay? Did he smoke like 3 cigars yesterday?
Oh, he definitely tapped out early and was in the hall, went down the hallway, and I guess had to go outside and smoke a cigar. You can't even do that in buildings nowadays, I feel like, with sensors and smoke alarms. So he probably
Correct.
he just went outside and smoked a cigar. He's like, I'm done taking notes on this crap. And so, yeah, you could definitely tell the Cannon was fed up with this game and what he was seeing. And obviously, I mean, you start out with you just drive that dagger in hard right away with back to back 3 and outs.
Yeah, it's funny when I sorry, if I end up disappearing off screens because I've been hacking up a lung for the last like 3 days. Just my allergies are going nuts. But when I first started in journalism, I was at the Hartford Courant in Connecticut. And this was like not that long ago. This was like 2010, 2011. And they still had like a smoking room, which was just kind of like a conference room that they had just said, this is where you can go if you want to smoke in the middle of the day. Because it was cold a lot of the time. Plus, you didn't like, go all the way outside, like whatever. But like there was like one guy who still used it. And he would just go in there and he was just sitting in there in a room full of smoke, just smoking a cigar or smoking a cigarette. And it was just like, well, that's weird. Then he would open the door and it would just be like
for some reason, I feel like more people are put off by some cigar smoke than cigarette smoke.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was funny. And I don't even have a metaphor or a segue for that. It's just, sometimes you need that. If there was a smoking room in the middle of SoFi Stadium, I think a lot of Saints fans would have gone in there at halftime just to get away from the game. But
now it's just a vaping room.
Yeah, it's a vape room. But no, I mean, like it was just that game was frustrating because for a lot of reasons, like it just became so clear that, okay, this is a good team. This is a Super Bowl caliber team. And we knew that going in. Like we talked about this. All the numbers told you that was an elite football team. On offense, you had the ball coming out fast and still the most explosive offense in the NFL. They led the NFL in explosive plays going into the game. I'm sure they lead it coming out, right? It was a defense that generated pressure as effectively as anyone in the NFL. And over the first 3 possessions for the Saints, it was tough to really get an idea of like, is Tyler Shough playing well? Because I mean, he's under pressure on every snap. And the quarterback has something to do with that. But I mean, you can't run the ball. You can't do anything. The third down where he kind of just chucked it into the dirt was weird. Like it was like, there was a lot on tape where you look at it and like sometimes he'll see pressure and panic. Yeah. And it was a 3rd and 1. And he had room to kind of slide away from the pressure, and instead he just kind of dumped it to Shaheed's feet with 2 defenders near him. It was that drive that started really close to the goal line. But so it was really tough. I thought he settled in throughout the course of the game. That's like one of my only positives is I don't think Tyler played that badly. And a lot of this was about you just never got him the ball in the second half to give him a chance. But no, I mean, I don't know how, and I want to talk about the trade deadline. I want to talk about the roster in this segment. I don't know how you come out of that game and don't feel like, guys, if we have deals on the table for players, we have to move them. Like you can look at it and say, hey, we value our veteran leadership. We value the culture. We value whatever. When you're going out and losing games the way you're losing games, your culture doesn't matter. You don't have a good enough roster to worry about the culture, right? You don't have a good enough roster to say, well, this guy doesn't want to get traded, so we're going to keep him around. I'm sorry. If someone's going to come out and offer you a 5th-round pick for Alvin Kamara, I'm taking it. Like, you have gone into this season and played so poorly in so many instances that there's no such thing as a protected player on your roster. Maybe, like, who are the players that you wouldn't trade under any circumstances on this roster right now?
The guy that's hurt, and Eric McCoy.
No one's trading for Eric McCoy. He's done for the year. So that's
right. That's
out, right? So it's like, I'm not talking about players that are healthy that would actually be traded for. Because like what's going to happen is a contender who feels like, hey, we need a piece here to potentially win a Super Bowl comes and trades for this guy. That's not going to be the case for a guy who's not going to play. So like, who are the players on this roster right now that if a contender came calling saying we need this player, you would say no, just outright?
Nobody.
I don't think it's nobody. I mean, I'm not trading Chase Young. I'm probably not trading Chris Olave, and I know you disagree with me on that, but
for anything though, like there's like, you know,
assume that you're going to get a middle of the road deal. Assume you're not going to get a bidding war for that player. Like, assume you're getting, if your asking price is a second round pick, you're getting a round below that. And you have to decide, is it worth dropping my asking price or sending him out there, right? Like, under those circumstances where you're not necessarily seeing someone come in and blow you away with an offer, would you not trade a player?
I wouldn't want to get rid of the rookie in Banks.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, you're not trading your first round pick for this year, right? So yeah, you're not trading Banks, you're not trading Fuaga.
That, yeah, it's pretty bleak for me. I'm willing to listen on anything.
Like, I'd trade Juwan. I'm not trading Chase Young. I actually think Chase Young has been one of the few bright spots for this team. And the rookies, you don't trade rookie players. You don't trade guys in their rookie season. It just doesn't happen. Like, it's rare to see a player get traded in their second season. That's why, to me, the Devon Bailey trade is a unique circumstance, because he's in his second year, and it's rare to see a player with that much team control get traded. Whereas, like,
did that guy play?
He does play. Here's the thing. Like, we can talk about, oh, they didn't use this guy. They didn't use this guy. They ran 40 plays. They had 40 plays on offense, right? Like, who gets used? It doesn't matter. Like, the usage doesn't matter when you don't run any offense. Like, whatever your plan was going into that game, it didn't happen because you didn't run enough plays, right? So, like, the funny thing is, I see people saying, no, they abandoned the run. I don't think they abandoned the run. I actually think they were dedicated to the run to a fault up until the point that Alvin Kamara fumbled. Because here's the thing. Yeah, you only ran the ball 14 times, but that's almost 50% of your offense, right? You only ran 40 plays, and you turned the ball over on one of them. So, like, I actually think Kellen Moore was trying to stay dedicated to the run. And Alvin, the player who's supposed to be a team leader, the guy who I talked to earlier in the week and said, hey, holding on the ball is about pride. Well, he fumbled. So maybe he wasn't proud enough. I don't know. It's just, there's so little.
It was a hell of a play by the defender, but I know that's no excuse. But man, that was a great punch out by the guy.
There's always punch outs. Like, I mean, the fact is, the guy just sized him up for like 3 yards.
Yeah, right. It was like that. Maybe, the super punch coming on in.
Maybe don't expose the ball. I don't know. It's something that you can't let happen, and you let it happen. So I don't know. Like, all that. My point is, like, Shaheed, I'm trading. Werner, I'm trading. If I get an offer on a DeMario, if I get an offer on an Alvin, I'm trading them. Like, I get it. Maybe you don't want to go get traded. At a certain point, you're not providing enough. Like, there's young players that you can build around. You could say, hey, I want to keep Chris Olave. They're probably not going to trade Juwan Johnson. They signed him to a 3-year contract, and he has been one of the few players. Like, we can complain about Juwan Johnson all we want, but at the end of the day, who's been productive on the team? And he's one of those guys, right? I mean, he's got 2 touchdown catches. Like, when it's you can say a lot of it's in garbage time, whatever. Like, there's very few productive players on this team to this point. I'd trade Cooks. Like, I think if you don't come out of tomorrow having made 2 to 3 trades at minimum, I'll be very disappointed in the direction of this team and how they are handling the situation that they've contrived. Because let's be real, like, this situation has been created. This didn't happen to them. This did not happen to the Saints. The Saints created the situation that is in front of them, and they have to respond to it in a way that makes sense. You can't sit there and be like, well, if this happened, I don't care what other alternate realities could have happened to you. Like, what if Sean Payton never left? What if whatever? It doesn't matter. You're where you are now, and all you can do is react to it. And, I just think there's way too much comfort in bad decisions being made with no blowback at all, with no repercussions for players aren't doing enough, coaches aren't coaching well enough, decision makers aren't deciding correctly. Like, I just think that at a certain point, a statement has to be made that the direction of this team is changing, and what you did this offseason was go coach, but do so much of the same. Like, you change your schedules, you change this, you changed offenses, you changed defenses, but the the rudder of this team still seems firmly planted in the same direction. And that's what's frustrating to me, because that clearly was not working. But I don't know what's changed.
No, and I hate to be the, even more of a Debbie Downer, but it feels like it's worse right now. I'd kill for Clint Kubiak and Derek Carr.
Clint's doing a great job out in Seattle, right?
Sam Darnold loves him.
No, and I do think, and I think that's why this trade deadline is important, because that's where you send a message. Because I think this team needs a message sent that, like, you're changing the culture, and we're doing that actively. We're being proactive, right? It's not like, one of my biggest complaints about the Kellen Moore era is so much of it seems to be reactive. Like, what you're doing next is being dictated to you by what's happening and not what you want to see happen. So we'll see. Like, I don't like the energy I'm seeing on the sideline. I don't like the energy I'm seeing on offense. I don't like the creativity I'm seeing. I don't think players quit, but you don't have to quit to play bad football. And they were playing bad football on defense yesterday.
Disinterested is a nicer way, I guess, to say, right?
I mean, defeated is what I would say. Like,
yeah.
They didn't quit, but you could see in their eyes that it's like, we know we're not winning this game, and we're just trying to survive it. But that's kind of where I am.
Like you mentioned, going into it, it's like I was taking LA with the points if I was the betting man going into the matchup, knowing what the kind of buzzsaw the Saints were running to offensively and defensively. And sadly, like, it played out worse than you probably imagined, just because I didn't see a 24-point loss coming.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the margin, it's the 24 points isn't the issue to me, because it's like 24 points is not what that game was. That was a 40-point blowout if the Rams got their stuff together, right? Like, they could have put up 50. But that's just, they were methodical enough on offense that they didn't have to. I mean, how long did they have the ball at the end of the game? Like, when did their last drive start? Because the second half of the fourth quarter, they had the ball. Like, after that interception from Shough, the Saints didn't get the ball back.
Right.
Yeah, their final possession started with 5:33 left. The Saints conceded that game. They didn't even use their timeouts.
Right.
So, like, the margin is what it was. And, like, that's why, again, going into that game, I was like, remember, when they went up to Buffalo, they were 16.5-point underdogs. I was like, that seems excessive. I feel like they're going to play a better game than that, just because I think they match up better against the defense that's really going to allow for some positivity on offense.
I hate the fact that I like what Sean McVay and the Rams are doing.
Yeah. He's a good coach.
They look good.
They're a good team. Like, they're my Super Bowl pick right now, based on what I've seen, right? Because there's a lot of teams that have kind of, it's funny because it's like the Chiefs are now just kind of ascending back into
really,
be there again.
Yeah.
But the Commanders have completely, man, that's brutal what happened to them yesterday. Marshawn tore his ACL, Jaden Daniels a dislocated elbow, on the same, like, basically situation that RG3 got hurt, which is crazy.
There's been tons of complaints about that field, I know.
Well, it wasn't about the field. I mean, he didn't dislocate his elbow because of the field.
I guess not, but yeah.
But I mean, Marshawn's ACL, I don't know. I didn't see the play where it happened, but no, it's tough, man. And, we're halfway through the season. There's a half of the season to signal change and to play better. But that's why I think this week is important, because I think you have to signal to your roster and you have to signal to your fans that what we've seen over the first half of the season is unacceptable.
No, you can't let the Panthers look like the Rams.
Well, it's not even about the game this week. Like, the game this week is the game this week. I expect them to play better. I do. Like, I expect them to kind of come back home and
they can't play worse.
Yeah, right. Well, they can play worse, right? Because if they play the way they did against the Rams, against the Panthers, and the Panthers blow them out, that's worse. because it's like the Panthers are not a Super Bowl contender. They're a good team to beat the Packers, but
could we possess the ball less?
Yeah, that would be tough to do. I think this was like one of the they almost set a record. But
I think
no,
so,
I mean, like
someone in the local media, the Luke Johnson, someone put out, I think it was 13th fewest time of possession all time.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like that's how futile it was. And that's the thing. Like, that's not only on the offense, that's on the defense too. Because it's like, yes, you're not possessing the ball on offense, but you're also not getting them the ball back on defense. And in situations where it's like, hey, you scored after halftime. If they get a stop there, you're down 10 points. You get the ball back to your offense. Maybe they make something happen, even kick a field goal. It's a 1-possession game. Instead, you allowed a 10 or a 16-play 10-minute touchdown drive that effectively ended the game. Like after that drive, it was like, okay, maybe Tyler Shough can put something together. Maybe you can put some points on the board. You're not winning. Like, you needed to stop there coming out of halftime to prove that you had a pulse.
Yeah.
And instead they proved the opposite. They proved they were dead in the water.
It reminded me of like the Bills in third quarter. I remember the Bills got the ball and sliced and diced their way down the field. And it was like, oh, we really didn't have a chance.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But no, like my point is, like, tomorrow at the trade deadline is when you have a chance as an organization to signal, hey, that's not how we play football. That's not what our organization is. And if that's how we're going to play, then we're going to change things. We are going to rebuild this roster actively, not passively. And not doing that is just a signal that you're okay with what's happening.
Maybe they're getting insulting offers. I don't know.
Then you take insulting deals. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You do something. You signal change in some way. And I don't think you need to fire coaches. I don't think you need to do that. I think, you knew going in this was going to be kind of a take your medicine season. That's what I called it at the start. That's what's happening right now. Medicine doesn't taste good. But you do also have to, you don't get better. If you're sick, do you just take medicine, or do you, like, I don't know, drink some Gatorade and change your habits a little bit, like I don't know, like, but you got to do something other. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. And what I'm worried about is that doesn't happen, and what that signals for this team. Because, and I'm just going to say this, like, I've had multiple people after interviews with Demario Davis this year be like, it's so interesting. He's in such a good mood. Like, he does not seem to be upset about the fact that the Saints are 1-6, 1-7, 1-8. And to me, and my read on that is like, yeah, he's resigned himself to his fate. Like, at what point do you just stop not trying? He's playing hard, but what do you do? Like, I think he's given up on the fact that this is what it is now. Like, how long can you rage against the machine until the machine wins? Because that's what's happening. Alvin Kamara, same situation. You have players that are still playing hard, that are going out there, but morally, they are defeated. And you go into every game feeling that way. And it's not a slight to those players. It's a slight to the situation. It's a slight to what's been allowed to happen in this organization. And yeah, and that's harsh, but that's just where we are.
Yeah, that felt like some dirt being thrown right on top of me right there, Jeff. I'm really low now.
Yeah. And again, like, Demario Davis I think he has 80 tackles. Like, he's having a good season. It's not about whether he's out there playing hard. It's about, like, if you had this season 5 years ago, you would have veteran players standing up in the locker room every day screaming and being like, hey, this is not how we play football. Have you heard about, like, guys standing up in the locker room and being like, this can't fly? No. Because this is what it is. It's a bad football team with familiar names.
No, that's why I say, I mean, I really, if somebody's calling for any of these players, I'm for sure listening. There's not that person I'm like, you can't have them, and hang up the phone.
Exactly. There's maybe like 2 or 3 players that, I'm not moving because I feel like they can be that productive. Like, outside of the rookies and the guys that you're going to put on the field to replace the other guys. So,
right.
But all right, let's wrap up that segment. Let's come back and do our studs and duds. Again, Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller, coming off of the Rams beating out beating down the Saints 34-10. And yeah, let's do it. Who dat? Go Saints. We'll be right back. And we are back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak here, alongside Steve Geller. We just ranted and raved about all the things that ticked me off, and then some. And we'll see what happens over the next day or so if the Saints rebuild their roster a little bit. But we'll have to wait and see. Until then, studs and duds time. Stock up, stock down players. We'll start with the stock down so we can end this podcast with a little bit of positivity. But first, Steve, give me your number one stock down from the game yesterday.
My number one stock down, I would go with Coach Moore. Just the really overall disappointment. I'm still not seeing enough from this offense, and then the plan coming out with the rookie just completely failed miserably to open up and just set a terrible tone for the game you just couldn't pull out of. And man, it's been tough seeing so far because he came in with a lot of hype being this offensive genius, and unfortunately we're waiting to enjoy that genius.
Yeah, that just, there hasn't been a feeling on offense that it's getting better.
Right.
And like, it's not a perfect situation. We knew that going in. You're talking about two quarterbacks that definitely don't have sky high ceilings, right? Like I think he did maximize Spencer Rattler in a way that I probably didn't expect as much of over the first 6 weeks of the season. Like I felt like he got some pretty good quarterback play. But it was a low yield, safe offense at its best. And I think once people started to key in on what you were doing, it didn't work. I mean, like the tempo thing only had it's not an offense. Like you can't just run tempo offense all the time and say, this is how we operate. Like this is not a basketball team. You just can't just like full court press all game. And like, as much as they want to do their basketball analogies and they want to play like the Pacers, it's just not how the NFL works. You have to be able to run offense. So no, that's in mind as well. And like I've seen people saying, "Oh, fire him!" Like you're not firing him. I think there's a degree to which he's a first-year head coach, and just like anybody on the roster, you're talking about a rookie quarterback, right? You're going to be a little softer on the rookie quarterback as he learns how to do the job at the NFL level. I think the same thing is true of a head coach, and I'm hopeful that over time you see a better version of Kellen than we've seen. I just see a guy who it feels like he's a little overwhelmed. Like it seems like everything he's doing is like happening in the moment. Like I don't see plans. I don't see, like your offense. If you can't like teams script their offense to start games. Your first 15 plays are plays that you spent during the week practicing, and you pick them because they're going to work in this game plan, and they suit what you're trying to do in this game. If you can't have like
first down,
I mean, it's not even a first down. Like it's like nothing worked. Nothing. The only play that worked was Taysom Hill running for 29 yards, which is not a game plan play. It's just a play, right? Like, and then after that, you left him in for two. Like these are the things that drive me nuts. It's like, yeah, you get that 29-yard run from Taysom Hill, but like, why would you leave him in there to run 2 more plays? Like, I don't see how, like, what do you think's going to happen? And if you're going to leave him to run 2 more plays, have him run 3. Because what I'm not going to do
is bring in the rookie on 3rd and long.
Right. Like, in what universe? Like, you go into the game and you come out of the game saying, we want to put our players in positions to succeed. Is that what taking your quarterback off the field for 1st and 2nd down is, and then throwing him into 3rd and 9 saying, good luck? The hilarious thing is he actually converted on that play on a dangerous throw to Brandon Cooks, who went up and made a nice catch. But, like, that's the situation you're going to put your starting quarterback in, your rookie quarterback in his rookie debut, is just like, yeah, here's a free 3rd and 9. Good luck. Later in the game, in the 4th quarter, when the game was well out of reach, you ended up with a 4th and 2 in the red zone. And instead of saying, hey, we're trying to develop a young quarterback, let's give him an opportunity to execute in a 4th down scenario in the red zone, you take him off the field and you run Taysom Hill again. In a game that's over, in a game that has nothing left but to develop a quarterback, you take that quarterback off the field so you can run a play that we already know it works. We already know what it is. We don't need to practice this. We're not developing this. It didn't work. And like, what benefit is there to take Tyler Shough off the field in
the
that
process, right?
Seriously. Like, if it doesn't work, you're in the same boat. You're losing the game either way. Let the quarterback work. And it's just like, I just don't feel like the logic behind a lot of these moves is there. And I don't feel like it's been planned in advance on anything. It's like, oh, okay, how do we get Tyler Shough into the game for his first extended NFL action? Well, we're going to wait until the 2nd drive of the 3rd quarter. We're not even going to mention it to him at halftime, just to make it clear we weren't planning on this. And then we're going to throw him out there and have him throw the ball 30 times. Really? Okay. And by doing that, you set up a scenario where your only 2 options are you don't start him against the Rams, and you make it look like you just came out of the game feeling so negative about his performance that you just couldn't possibly start him, or you do the optical thing that makes sense, and you're like, hey, we're going to change to him at quarterback. We're going to see what he has, and you make it so your rookie debut comes on the road against a Super Bowl caliber Rams team that's going to eat you alive. That's your plan? That's how you got to this point? Like, come on, man.
I'm telling you, they
might as well just taken your lumps with Spencer Rattler over the last 2 weeks and gone with Tyler this week. Like, it's just, it drives me nuts. And I don't understand it. It just feels like a coach who's overwhelmed and just grasping at straws, trying to make something work. And
I'm just hoping it's something where the fact that they want to throw him into the sizzling hot inferno to start out the gate, so things now start to ease up a little bit, you hope.
Well, yeah, and if that, I wish that's how it was, that's what was happening. But they didn't even talk at halftime and say, hey, maybe we'll go to him here. No, that's just what's happening. It's not that you wanted to do that. It's that your decision-making got you to a point where that was the only option. And sure, maybe ultimately throwing him into the fire and having him take his lumps now so that in 3 weeks when you're back home and playing the Falcons, he's ready. Sure, maybe that's the result. But like, there's a certain point where you're just sitting there at the beginning of the season and you should be like, what do we not want to do? Like, what's the scenario we want to make sure we avoid? And I guess that didn't happen. So
the bad thing is that's what's they'll build them up. The Saints will win in the Superdome against the Falcons, and you'd think folks will be happy. And then it's like, oh, we're ruining our draft pick.
Yeah, see, I'm not going to be that way. I'm never like that. I don't do the ruining draft pick thing. I value winning games. I do, and I value learning how to win games. And I will never ever be like, oh, that was a bad decision to win a game. Now, that might ultimately be what happens, but in that moment, you have to go play your best football. Like, there's nothing else you can do. You do not tell guys to go lose games. Now, again, we talked about this, like, you're at the trade deadline tomorrow. Like, there's things you can do to make your roster not worse, but like stand less of a chance to win games. That is not tanking. That is just doing what you have to do.
Asset management.
That's the only, there's occasionally instances where you see actual tanking, and it's obvious when it's happening. It's week 8 or week 17. I think at that point there was only 17 games when the Eagles pulled rookie Jalen Hurts for Nate Sudfeld in the second half of a game they were probably going to win. Like, that's tanking. And when that happens, it's obvious. In this case, it's like, if you go and win games, you go and win games because you're playing well, and that's a positive. Like, why are we so negative about the Rams game right now? It's not that the Saints lost. It's how they lost. If they won that game, I would have been thrilled. I don't care about the draft pick. The draft pick is going to be there, whether it's a second pick, a fifth pick, a 10th pick. It matters how you get there. And, the funny thing about that game that I just referenced is Doug Peterson, the coach who co-signed taking Jalen Hurts out of the game, got fired anyway. So it doesn't matter. But no, I agree with you. It's just like, and I'm not out on Kellen. I'm not. I really hope that over the second half of the season you see an approach and an offense and a team that looks like it has a plan, like it's got an identity. Because that's been a really disappointing start to the tenure for me.
The hits keep rolling with this squad, man, and then with the offense, and then you go over to the defensive side of the football. I could say Brandon Staley, because there was so many issues I took on that side of the ball of being a problem. And like I said, you mentioned it was later on in the game that it really loosened up, but somebody get back to the basics of tackling, please.
Yeah, I think my stock down was more so the coverage and how they handled the misdirection, and they talk a lot about eye discipline, and the Saints didn't have it, and this has been a matchup that Alontae Taylor has really struggled in his entire career. Like, it doesn't matter what year it is, he's improved a lot since his second season in the NFL when he got benched, but like, this matchup just doesn't suit him, and unfortunately that's just kind of just where you are. But no, like, there was, you couldn't tackle Puka Nacua, and I think that forced you to be more aggressive in that coverage, and so you had to sit back in kind of soft zones, and Devontae Adams is just so good at finding space in zones, and like, again, that's a good offense. They made it look unstoppable based on how they were playing it.
And how is every tight end just open?
Well, I think again, like, once one thing works, something else is going to work, right? Like,
everything worked.
Well, that's the thing. Like, once one thing works and you can't stop it, and you have to adjust your plan to stop it, then suddenly you break something else, and that's what Sean McVay is so good at, is breaking one thing and then breaking the next thing and then breaking the next thing. And Matthew Stafford is so good at identifying it. Like,
even at running back, I'm like, wait a minute, where do I know that name, Blake Corum?
What do you mean?
I had just forgotten about him, and then it's like, oh, the kid that was at Michigan, and was a stud over there when they won a title.
Yeah, he's a good player. I think he got hurt in that title game. I can't recall, but no, yeah. I mean, again, it's just, and then by the second half, Kyron Williams is just going to lean on you, and that's what happened. I actually thought they handled the run reasonably well to start the game. They just didn't handle anything else. And then but the defense, I felt like the defensive line was reasonably successful relative to the rest of the defense. But no, I mean, like everyone got beat. Justin Reed had a decent game, but he got beat by the tight end on a key third down early in the game. He did have really nice coverage downfield. I think it was Devontae Adams. He should have had a couple interceptions.
The terrible analogy of hot knife through butter was the Saints, for sure, because there was some amazingly orchestrated. They didn't do it with the chunk plays. They sliced and diced them down the field with ease, though, and had like 9 to 11 play drives that ate up 6 to 8 minutes and ended up with a touchdown.
Well, see, I disagree. I think they also did it with chunk plays. I think they did both.
Not like the huge, like 69-yarder is what I mean, you know?
Yeah, sure. I guess they didn't have like I mean, but there was a ton of like 20+ yard plays.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's it in today's NFL. A 20+ yard play is a chunk play, right? Like the NFL is no longer 60-yard bombs. They just don't exist anymore with the way defenses are playing. You know, but they did. It felt like every time they needed, 15, 20, 25 yards, they were just had a guy standing by himself. Because like again, like I go back and I look at the Patriots game and I say like, well, in that game, yes, the Saints defenders got beat, but they were in position and it was just a question of whether they won a contested situation or not. In this game, there was no one there to contest anything. And when you were, you did stop some plays. But Davante Adams was standing alone on both of his touchdowns. Like on his first touchdown, he ran a 2-yard route and had 2 yards of separation.
And then the Nakua touchdown, just a ridiculous throw by Stafford.
Ridiculous throw, ridiculous catch. That's what good players do, and again, like that was an example of like Kool-Aid was actually there on that play. Like I didn't,
right.
It was just there's going to be situations in a game against the Rams and Matthew Stafford and Puka Nakua and Davante Adams where they're just better than you. Right. And it's not about scheme. It's about they made a better play than you can make on defense. But that wasn't the case. A lot of the time, it was just a guy running by himself.
I feel like if I could play NFL blitz with Stafford, Nakua, and Davante Adams, it'd be a pretty badass squad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think 992 RSSA, this Staley's zone hasn't worked all year. And no, I mean, like the coverage there seems to be a disconnect in it somewhere. And here's the thing, like you're asking a lot of rookies to play or young players to play a lot of important snaps. And so there's going to be breakdowns. I think Justin Reed is getting very frustrated because he's basically having to be a coach at the same time. And yeah, so we'll see it. Pammy Whammy says, at this point, who are you tanking for? That's a good point. Angel Morales wants me to keep talking shit. I don't see. That's the thing. I don't talk shit. I have no interest in talking shit. Like this is the point that I've been driven to. Like I am an optimistic person. I'm very pro player.
Right. It's like, screw you for making me this mad.
Right. Like I don't want to be this way. I would much rather be someone else. But yeah. Redeemed Sauce says they're professionals and right now they're just cosplaying football. I don't think that's necessarily fair, but
I am curious. Like, we're doing this podcast midday here, and there's still nothing going on with the trade deadline or even like any buzzing going on with the Saints.
So I get the points where like I'm halfway through a sentence and it's either I stop talking or I can't continue to say. You heard me on the radio yesterday. You rescued me out of a sentence that I had to abandon because I was just like I either hack directly into the microphone,
right.
I disappear from existence for like 10 seconds.
We got to get you meted up.
Oh, it's just like I'm actually feeling better now. It's just the sinuses and the weather change always gets me, but
the allergies of the West Coast.
Yeah, and changing, like getting all that, and the funny thing is when I go out west, like anywhere I go that's like dry, like when I went to Arizona for my wedding, I go to California for these games, like my lips get chapped like instantly because my body is just accustomed to like wet air. And then you go out there and it's like, oh my God, what's happening? My whole body's drying out. And then I get back home and so it's all better, like within a day.
How about the trip to Montana?
Montana?
Yeah, didn't you go back there a while ago?
Montana. I mean, that was like several years ago. I appreciate that you're keeping track of my vacations, but
I'm just jealous. That's like on my spot where I need to spend a month.
Montana is a good trip. I recommend it. It's very low key. Like I live in a city. Like I don't need the hustle and bustle vacations. I like the chill vacations. But Cape Cod was the other one that I went recently, and my lips got chapped in the middle of the summer. Just wait, it's like, it's not cold. But anyway, wow, what were we talking about? Stock down. I have one more. And I mean, like, I have a few. There's more than one, and we could sit here all day and talk about all the things that went bad. We've already done that. But Alvin Kamara's impact in general, like, it's not about the player; it's about what's happening. And you're talking about a guy who has had 6 carries each of the last 2 weeks. This week he had 14 yards? Yeah, 14 yards in his last 7 games. He has rushed for 3.5 yards per carry or less in 6 of them. 3 of those games, so half of them, 2.3 yards per carry, 2.3 yards per carry, 2.5 yards per carry, right? So you're just not getting production. You're not getting a guy who's a threat in the passing game, in part because you're just not using him, right? And here's the thing, like, you saw Kendre Miller out there earlier in the season. He was being productive. Devin Neal, he had 11 yards on his 3 carries. Like, I think if you just dropped down from a spaceship in the middle of that game and you just watched how it played out, you'd be like, why is this guy getting all the carries? Because he's not doing anything with them. And he turned the ball over. Like, because I don't think that the issue is that Alvin just has nothing left to give either. And that's what's frustrating. And it makes it really depressing that he's sitting there like, I don't want to go anywhere else, because watching the end of his career go this way just makes me sad. Because I don't think his career is over. I do think he has more left to give. I just think he has gone beyond the point where he alone can elevate your offense. Like, in a good situation, I think that he could have a really productive season. This is not a good situation, and he is past the point in his career where he can thrive in a bad situation. And so I don't know. I'm hopeful that he changes his mind over the next day, and said, or maybe he already has, and says, you know what? Let's see if there's a contender out there that wants me and can, because I'd like to see him go and have success somewhere, because it's not going to be here.
Yeah, what if the Chiefs really were after him and were willing to part with a 4th? What do you think they give for Kamara?
I'd take a 5th, and it's not even about the value; it's about getting something. Because I mean, based on what we've seen, this feels like it's his last season anyway. Like, would he sign up? Like, I just think we've seen enough to know that this is not going to break. Like, this is the offense.
Right.
So I don't know, but that's I've gotten past the point in this season, and this is really what I'm saying, that I'm like, okay, maybe you can change things up, and suddenly you're going to see vintage Alvin Kamara. I just don't think that the Saints are capable as an offense of unlocking vintage Alvin Kamara. And he's at the point in his career where you need the offense to do that for you a little more than just saying, oh, he's so independently talented that he can thrive even when the offensive line isn't doing the job. And so, yeah.
I find it hard to believe that, we've seen a once stellar running back hit that 29, 30-year-old wall, and all of a sudden this is who he is now. I don't necessarily think it's that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't either, but the fact is the numbers are not pretty.
No. But it's like, what the hell is going on with the Saints run game that it doesn't matter. It's like it's almost like, oh yeah, we could hand it off, and I don't know. Nothing is working, and I just question back with Kellen Moore on how he's setting up anything in this offense right now to be successful.
Yeah, it's
not
working.
Looking good at all.
Nothing's working.
Right.
Nothing's working. So it's not just Alvin, but the fact is you're talking about a 30-year-old running back in a dead season. And even if he doesn't, and this is kind of where I'm at, like, if he doesn't want to go anywhere and you want to abide by that wish, fine. There's a point in this season where he's not your featured back anymore, because it just doesn't make sense for him to be your featured back And I think I'm there. Like, what do you gain from continuing to do this?
Well, if he's not the featured back, shoot, how many touches are we going to see this dude get?
Well, right. And that's kind of where you're at. And that's why it seems like it would make more sense if he's amenable to a trade and you find somewhere that wants to feature him. And I don't know. I don't keep track of running back depth, but the Chiefs feel like the most obvious team. Chargers maybe, because they dealt with some injuries at the running back position. But yeah, so. And I don't like, and I'm like the biggest Alvin Kamara fan you'll find. I love Alvin Kamara.
Absolutely. I love DeMario. I love Cam. I love a lot of these guys. But like I said, Jeff, at this point, I'm not at nowhere. If I got a call on a player that I'm not listening to, not a one.
The fact is, you're looking at a number 1 overall pick. So there's no wrong ideas. There's no bad ideas in terms of like, oh, who instead of Alvin Kamara? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Evan Hull, let's see it. Like Audric Estime, yeah, why not? Let's see what he's got. Like, there's the only wrong path to take is the one where there's players on your roster that you don't know about. And that's what it would be. Hey, we're just going to have Alvin bang his head into the wall for the next 8 games.
And plus the way things are looking, I mean, it would be a crime to go into the draft with just 5 picks for this year.
Yeah, can't happen. But all right, let's wrap up this segment. Unless you have any more. You have any more?
Stock downs.
Yeah.
No, like I said, I was just utterly disappointed, offense and defense. That's why I lumped in. Everybody kind of fell on the umbrella of Moore and Staley for me this week. So everybody sucked equally.
Good deal. All right. Let's hit a quick break and come back and talk about the very few positive things that I was able to cull from this game. There are a few. There are a couple. So let's do it. Again, Inside Black and Gold, Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller coming at you after the Saints lost to the Rams 34-10. Stick around. We'll be right back. And we're back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak here alongside Steve Geller. And yes, we do have a stock up portion of this year program. It's not going to be an exceptionally long one, but I do have a couple things I want to point out. And the biggest one is what I call 2-minute Shough. Because we didn't really talk a ton about Tyler Shough's day because I didn't want to save this for the positive part of the portion. And, you know, I think you come out of that game and you say you didn't extend enough drives, you didn't move the ball well enough, like there was too much pressure on the quarterback, you couldn't run the ball. But there were moments in that game that you go back and you look at and you're like, okay, he played well. Obviously, you want to see more throughout the first half of that game, but there's a lot of instances in games where you get the ball with a 2-minute situation, you got to go execute. And there is some positivity that comes out of just, hey, okay, it's 20-3. You could either continue to fail, or you can go down and make something happen, and suddenly you go into halftime feeling like, all right, we have a chance. Now, obviously, that didn't happen because the Rams came out and went 10 minutes with the ball, and Tyler didn't throw a pass for like 40 minutes of real time. But that 2-minute drive, you got it with a little less than a minute to go around the 35-yard line. There was a nice play where you had a nice Paul to Rashid Shaheed on kind of an in-breaker. Then you had a scramble drill. You found Chris Olave on a big play downfield, which the Saints haven't done much in scramble drills this year, so that was nice to see. Tyler Fuaga, who we didn't mention the stock down, I thought had a really rough day. I'll give him a break because he has what I look to be a pretty nasty ankle injury. We'll see how he handles that if he misses some time. But Byron Young just beat him clean and just wiped out Tyler Shough. And one of the most dangerous things for a defense is when you just have a straight run at the quarterback, because it feels almost impossible to make that hit without getting a penalty. But he brushed that off. It was a huge hit. He got the penalty, he got the yardage, brushed that off, either the next play or 2 plays later, he finds Juwan Johnson. The third progression, it was a nice play. He kind of got through his reads, found Juwan over the middle of the field, delivered the ball to him inside of his frame, which is important, right? Because when you're a big guy in the middle of the field standing still, the second that ball is coming to you, everyone's breaking towards you, right? So if you don't get him the ball inside his frame and you force him to extend, right? And we've seen Juwan have trouble catching passes. I get it. But the best thing you can do for that player is allow him to catch the ball inside his frame so that he can immediately tuck it, brace, and then turn upfield and maybe make something happen. And that's why he was able to turn that into a touchdown. If he has to reach over his head, if he has to go outside, he's fighting the ball, then he's trying to protect himself. He probably just goes down, right? So the accuracy was nice to see, and he turns that into a touchdown. And that's a positive moment for a young quarterback that is looking for positive things to happen, right? We knew going in that was going to be a struggle from start to finish. So I do have to take away some positivity out of that and say, hey, you needed him to execute in this scenario. The defense let him down coming out of halftime. We don't know whether, you get him the ball back in a good situation. He goes and drives. Obviously, Alvin Kamara fumbled on that first drive of the third quarter, so can't put that on him either. In the first, he had a nice completion to Juwan to start that drive. He had them set up, moving the ball, and then the fumble. So, yes, there's struggles. There's stuff you got to fix. There's stuff you got to get better at. But that's the deal with a rookie quarterback. You don't expect to be perfect right away. So you kind of have to pick and choose and say, okay, I see a lot of people saying oh, was he better than Rattler? I don't know. But I do know he looked better than Rattler did in his first career start. So that's how you have to compare it. You can't say well, Rattler looked better in start 16 or whatever it was. But this is where we are. So that's what I'll be positive about is that 2-minute drive was really nice. And you just build from there.
Yeah, it was nice to have a little bit of a bump of that smile, seeing him, get a TD right before the half, and you come out and you're like, all right, 20-10 is not terrible right now. It made you feel a little hopeful that all they need to do, get their shit together at the half, come out, put some more points on the board. We know that didn't happen, but yeah, that was a big point in the game. And like you said, a positive point, I should say, for the Saints. Was his first NFL touchdown as well. And yeah, just I like it. I love it. Give me some more of it kind of deal.
Yeah, and I think you did see him kind of build confidence from there. I don't think, and the offensive line gave him a little bit more time in the second half. And he had some nice completions to Shaheed. He had there was the drive that they took him out on the fourth down, which is one of the reasons that frustrated me, is because that was a really effective drive, right? He made a couple nice throws to Olave, to Shaheed at the edges of the field, got you down into the red zone, 4th and 2, and you don't give him a chance to finish off that drive. That's frustrating to me because that's a situation that, if you send him out there and he makes a nice play and he gets into the end zone, suddenly that's a really nice moment. Another thing you can build on. And instead, it's oh, well, the Taysom Hill play didn't work. And so we'll never, it's just a missed opportunity for growth. But no, I mean, he moved the ball in that second half. He didn't have the ball nearly enough to justify saying we played well.
Back to that, Jeff, too. It's a little wild considering with the Taysom situation that Kellen's the offensive guy and he's a quarterback too, so he understands even more how valuable that is for Shough to get that experience.
Well, here's the thing. I'm sure that's your 4th and 2 play. That's the play you had circled. Hey, what's our best short yardage red zone play? And yeah, it probably is. But common sense would be okay, the plan is out the window. But either way, I do think there were some in a game where nothing went well. If I have to pick some silver linings, it was that I thought the rookie quarterback, even the interception, it was a 4th down. He's trying to make something happen. It did look like Taysom Hill was open. He was working the other side of the field. By the time he got back, it wasn't open anymore. That's frustrating. Could you have run for it? Maybe. I don't know. Definitely wasn't a great throw in terms of what happened. But again, 4th down, the only thing you don't want to see there is taking a sack and not giving your guy a chance. So just like Spencer Rattler's interception against the Seahawks, I'm not going to be negative on that play. And I don't think he had a couple throws that maybe could have been better. The weird one was the one to Shaheed that looked like Shaheed just stopped running. Like I don't know what the deal was with that, because he had a step, like he was open, and I think if he just runs through the route, they had a chance. So I don't know what the deal was there. But anyway, that's that one.
And I was gonna say, and that ends the stock ups.
No, there's a couple more. Well, one is Chase Young has got a sack in 3 straight games. Agreed. I think Chase has been one of the bright spots, and it's funny because the first 5 weeks when we were talking about, the Saints are being more competitive than maybe I expected, Chase wasn't there. And now Chase is there, and you have this run of non-competitive football, but I do think Chase Young's playing well. And, it's the first time in his career he's had a sack in 3 straight games. His sack at the end of the first quarter, it set up a 2nd and 18. And you're like, okay, let's get this done. We're in a good position. Next play, 15-yard completion to Devontae Adams, or maybe it was Puka Nacua, I can't remember. And it's like, all right, so much for that. But so Chase Young's going to be in my stock up. And I do have one more if you want to hear it.
Yeah, definitely. Hit me with some positivity.
All right. I was really, really critical of special teams early in the year. Really critical. Because I felt like special teams was like in Seattle, you lost that game on special teams regardless of anything else you did. Right? And that continued. It did not get necessarily better. You're missing field goals. You weren't covering kicks. You against the Giants, your average starting field position after kickoffs was the 15-yard line. Not good. Right? And so I do have to give Phil Galliano and that group credit, because this is one of their better games. And I thought they played well last week. Blake Grupe made his only kick. So, suddenly he's made 6 of his last 7 kicks in the last 4 games. You feel like he's settling in. If that was week 1, he probably misses that 39-yarder, and we're talking So you got it. All he can do is make the kicks you asked him to take. So he made his kick. The Saints put Shaheed, which was interesting, back for kickoffs for the first time. And I kind of feel like that was a reminder to other teams, no, he can do this, by the way. So if you're trading for him, you're going to get a return ace, right? That's an important part of your team. You got a lot of kickoffs. And the result, it was actually really interesting, because the Rams are one of the better kickoff coverage teams. And the first kick return, they kicked it to Shaheed. He brought it back to the 30, but he was real close to breaking it. And I think they saw that and they were like, you know what? Let's just kick it into the end zone, because we feel like we're going to win this game. We just can't give them free points on returns. And so the Saints drive starts were the 30-yard line, the 35-yard line, the 4-yard line, which is a perfect punt. Nothing you could do about it. He kind of angled it to the edge of the field, and you didn't have a chance to field it. Went out at the 4-yard line. So that's really not on the coverage unit. Then 35-yard line, 35-yard line, 29-yard line, 35-yard line, 35-yard line, 49-yard line. Your average starting field position was the 32-yard line, and that includes a drive that started at your own 4. So that's a win on special teams. Kai Kroger. Now, he does have a bad habit of one nasty punt a game, and he had one in this game, but his first kick was from the Saints 39. He punted it 49 to the Rams 12, no return, so a 49-yard net kick. His next one, annoyingly, was from the Saints 29. He kicked it to the LA 31-yard line. It was returned 11 yards, so that's a 29-yard net kick, which is frustrating, but okay. Then his next was from the Saints 13 to the LA 38, no return, 49-yard net. Then from the Saints 38 to the LA 16, that's a 46-yard net kick. So he kicked pretty well there too. You covered well. Ike Adam, I thought, played well on special teams. Justin Reed got in and I'm giving him credit for that missed field goal, because he was literally diving in front of it to the point that Josh Carty, who's terrible, by the way, literally just kicked it so far to the right that it was like, oh, he didn't have a chance. He didn't get it blocked, but it wasn't going in. So I give him credit for that as well. So the added value on special teams has gotten to the point where I feel like, you don't necessarily have to fire your special teams coordinator at the end of the season. So in terms of, again, I have to find some positives. It's like a thing in my brain. And I think that was one of them. I think the special teams group has clawed back to being a league average unit and maybe an added value. And if I'm going to be super critical when they're bad, I have to at least give them a reasonable amount of props when they do play well, which they did in this game.
You mentioned that play with the Rams kicker. That was wild. It was like, what are you doing?
Well, and he missed the extra point like wildly to the left. So like he had a miss like 30 yards to the left and 30 yards to the right. Like, and he's been bad all year. Like it's crazy to me. Like they drafted that guy, so I think they're sticking with him. But like, man, you're a team that's got to feel like you have Super Bowl ambitions, and that could cost you. Like
that cost them in the Eagles game. You know that,
right? So I don't know. Like it's crazy to me that they haven't. Like the 49ers didn't let it ride out with Jake Moody. They cut him.
Right.
The Falcons cut Younghoe Koo, who was struggling. The Saints didn't cut Blake Grupe. But Blake at least has kind of clawed back to a reasonable, like his only, like he's 6-7 over his last 4 games, and his only miss was from 53 in the wind in Chicago. Like that's kind of settling in. Josh is missing extra points 30 yards to the left. And like he's the reason. Like the Saints were only in touch in that game at the half, which was being down 10, which is in touch.
Yeah.
Because Josh Carty sacrificed 4 points. They should have been up 24-10. Instead, they were up 20-10 because they gave away 4 points because he can't kick field goals and extra points. So, anyway, I think that's about it. I do want to. Okay, so Brandon Cooks continued to make catches when he was throwing the ball. You know, he had that third down conversion from Tyler Shough. It does seem like there's a connection there. So just like I have in previous games, it's like Cookie,
yeah,
good on you, Cookie. But like he just when he gets thrown the ball, he catches it, which I'll give him credit for that. Jonah Williams also had a nice sack in that game. Couple tackles for loss, QB hit. So got to give him some props too. But you know, that's it. That's all I got.
Bravo to you for finding some stock up.
Yeah. Rashid Shaheed, I also want to give credit to just in the sense that, you know, he didn't put the ball on the ground. He was a leading receiver in the game. Had a couple nice plays. So, yeah.
Will he remain in black and gold? Tick tock, tick tock.
Tick tock on the clock, everybody. Oh, wait. No, this is not a time for Kesha.
When is?
It's always a time for Kesha. We can always co-sign some Kesha. But I didn't. The wake up feeling like P. Diddy line, it didn't age well.
Not too good, right? You might want to change it.
Anyway, I think they did change it. I think the radio version, if they play it now, it's different. I think they edited it to something else. I can't recall. I could be wrong though.
But we really know what it is.
Let me know, chat. Go find it. Go find the edited version. Hey, it rhymes with this city. It's like there's only so many options that you could feel like that rhymes with this city. But all right, that's it. That's the podcast. Hopefully, we can have happier podcasts down the road. The nice thing is that the Wednesday driving home edition will be 99.9% about the trade deadline. And the Taliesin Fuaga's ankle. Oh, also Jack Stoll had an ankle injury, so it's a bummer for him.
We're back to being, though, I feel like deep into the tunnel, dark into the pit, and there's I don't see anywhere. Jeff, do you see any light at anywhere? Is there a pinhole of hope?
Yes, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because there are 2 organizations on Airline Drive, and the Saints are the one that didn't trade away their first-round pick for next year.
Ouch.
That's the only thing I can say positively right now is the Saints, at least, if they get the number 1 pick, they get to make it.
Yeah.
Can't say that for the Pelicans. It's a rough time to watch sports in Louisiana. At least if the sports are being played by Louisiana teams, not named Tulane.
That definitely makes the whole Pelicans outlook completely more miserable. Of you're sucking it up and you don't even own your first round pick.
Yep. And it bothers me. Like, there's nothing I hate more in my soul than having to agree with Nick Wright. But gosh.
Right. One of those moments again. Damn you, team, for making me agree with Nick Wright.
Damn yous. Damn yous. Anyway, who dat? Go Saints.
Who dat, folks?
Half the season's over.
Hang
Half
in
the
there.
season's left.
Yay.
We've still got the Jets. All right. See. Oh no. Where'd Steve go? Oh, he's there. He was just hiding. I'm not even gonna intro this because by tomorrow it'll all be dated, so I'm not even gonna post it in the podcast feed. This is just gonna be a casual let's pregame Kellen Moore's press conference mailbag, right? How's that sound, Steve? Feel good about it?
I'm definitely down for it. I'm going to start bringing these more to the podcast, and I think it's going to be more needed for sure.
I was drinking gin at like 2 a.m. yesterday. Because like we didn't get home until like 12:30, and I still had work to do. So I was like, all right. And then by the time I was done, I was like, I can't go to sleep. I'm gonna have I make myself martinis to make myself feel like less of an alcoholic because that's classy. But yeah,
classy drunk.
It was a tough morning. But let's see. Let's just go through from the beginning. Let's hear what the negativity was at the beginning. There's a lot of comments. We had a lot of people. Like that's the thing. When things are bad, you get people to talk. The numbers on everything are terrible in terms of like downloads and like, hey, we're trying to sell ads on stuff. No one wants to pay money, but people will say angry things. Hey, look, we're gonna set records for comments and like have the lowest download rate we've ever had.
Yeah, we've mentioned going through it. It was where you're upset and it's sad to see, and then you get mad, and now at this point, it's like you can't hurt me. I don't know. I after this game for sure was another big blow for Houdats, and we had a lot of fans calling in at the post game show, kind of like, you know, they're checking out. Sadly, with the rest of the stretch of this game, the games.
Yeah, I mean, you got 8 games left. You got to make something happen, and that's why again, like if like this is a day tomorrow at the trade deadline where you can make a statement to your fans that you're taking it seriously, or you can be like, well, enjoy the rest of the season. Go ahead and sell your tickets to the road team. Ransom Antoine says, is it just me or Rattler would have used his legs to convert a couple of those third and shorts? Right. Like I said this going in, Spencer's more of a scrambler than Tyler will be. Like Tyler is more of a player that's going to try to extend. Kellen did talk about it, and I agree with him. Like what Tyler does well as a quarterback is he's willing to step up against pressure, whereas a lot of young quarterbacks will try to like escape to the edges of the field, and that's just when you get chased down and you lose yardage. And you know he does try to navigate from inside the pocket. Sometimes he panics, and he is still a rookie quarterback, so you have to give him a little grace on that. But he's got to get better about that. But there were a couple really nice moments in this game where he navigated, found space, and you know, he was slinging the ball in that second half. Like you go back and you watch some of those throws, that ball jumps out of his hand. He's got a really live arm. But like, no, I mean, to say, hey, would Rattler have given you a better chance to win? Probably. I mean, I don't think you would have won, but yes, you're going to be better off with a guy in his 13th career start versus a guy in his first career start. That can't be the balance.
Yeah, I don't want folks to think about that either. Like every time now that we see Shough out there, what would have Rattler? If Rattler was in this situation, what would have happened? That's not fair to him either.
It's not productive because I think what you had Rattler for the first half of the season. You're going to have Shough for the second half of the season, and you're hoping by the end of the season you see growth, right? And I think you saw what Spencer had. I don't think you were gonna, if you left him in there for the final 8 games, you were gonna necessarily see him continue to grow by leaps and bounds. That said, he played well. And I think that's what this second half of the season is figuring out what you have in the other guy and going from there. I think you're taking a quarterback. I mean, unless something changes drastically over the next 8 games, I think you're taking a quarterback at ideally number 1 overall. I'll take Fernando Mendoza. I'll go from there, but we'll have to see. M. Nelson says, is Kellen even engaged on the sideline? Any emotion? Yeah, I think Kellen is getting to the point that he's very, very frustrated. He's yelling at the officials a little bit more. He's getting into it, but and emotion on the sideline is a double-edged sword. Like, yeah, you want to see a guy get into it, but then you also have like, why did one of the easiest things to clown Brian Kelly for was him constantly throwing temper tantrums on the sideline. Brian Dable is the same way. Like, you want a balance there. You do need kind of an even-keeled approach. It's just really easy to be critical of a guy when you're losing. And here's the thing, I don't really care about the engagement on the sideline. I don't care about the emotion. I want better offense. He can be the most boring person in the world. I want better offense. So I'm not worried about that.
No, facts of that. I'm still waiting and patiently waiting to see this innovation and football mind that we got here in New Orleans to be unleashed, please.
Yeah. So Andy sure likes my shirt. Fun fact about this shirt. It was my birthday, which was literally COVID, because it was March 10th. March 11th is my birthday, so it was March 10th, the day before my birthday, 2020, which the NBA shut down on March 11th, which is why I say it was COVID. And we were out, and we were going to play laser tag, but it was like super hot, and I sweat through my shirt, and I didn't have time to go home. So I just went to a shop on Bourbon Street and bought this shirt. Yeah, that's why I have it. Anyway.
Legendary moment.
Yeah, still have it. Just want to think back to all the good times of COVID. But at least I got to celebrate my birthday before we realized how bad
I hope you won laser tag.
Thinking back, it was like probably a bad decision to play laser tag right in the beginning of a pandemic, but it is what it is. My brother was
Livin, Livin, brother.
Yeah. It was funny because my brother was in town because it was like also his bachelor party, because I flew him down. It wasn't really a bachelor party. I kind of flew him down for a bachelor party. And then he didn't even end up getting married for like 2 years because of the COVID. Bordelise says, can we agree that Chase Young is the one and only true talent on this team? Watch Mickey trade him. He's not getting traded. I don't agree that he's the only talented player, but he is one of the players that you look at and say, okay, you can build around this.
Yeah, definitely a pillar or a standout, whatever you want to say, for sure.
Borderly also says, I was hoping we would feature Shaheed yesterday so we could get a third from Pittsburgh at the trade deadline. I think they were trying to feature Shaheed. I don't think it's a coincidence that you go into the trade deadline on Tuesday and it's like suddenly he's your kick returner. He's your leading receiver in the game. Like, whether that was intentional or not, the timing was interesting. Because it did seem like he was featured in that game a little bit more at all levels. I just wish he was. I don't know why he stopped running on. I think maybe he didn't see the ball, because like he had a step like that was very close to being like a 60-yard touchdown. We'll see. Jerry G says, not letting a 1-8 record ruin my week. I'm happy for you. I wish I could say that.
Props to Jerry G too with the AK jersey.
I think it says Pope actually. Oh, poor. It says poor. So it's a custom jersey, but it says it's a 41 jersey, but it says his last name on the back.
Gotcha.
All right. 992 RIS says it looked like all the other games. I disagree. Like, this is not, I think that looked like a good team versus a bad team, and a bad team that didn't believe it could win. Like, that was the difference to me in that game. Is there, like, from the jump, didn't seem like the Saints felt like they had a chance in that game.
No, but definitely same stuff for sure. Of the same issues we've been seeing with red zone, whatever you want to talk about. It just same old shit.
Saint for Life says Saints' entire offensive coaches went to Seattle, and look what they are doing. They looked terrible last season, but with some good talent around them, Seattle looks like a serious contender this year. And well, here's the thing. They didn't look terrible for the first 2 weeks. They looked like a dynamic offense that was going to run roughshod over the entire NFL. Then the injury struck. But, yeah, I mean, I never felt like the biggest issue last year was Clint Kubiak, but you weren't keeping him. Like, once you fired Dennis Allen, like, that doesn't happen. You hire a new head coach, an offensive head coach, and you keep Clint Kubiak, like that was never gonna happen. But no, I mean, like
I feel I had a really too much of a brief bromance about Clint Kubiak. I was ready to go for him. Like I was like, he's going to be the number one Halloween costume this year because of how things look through 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, like I liked a lot of those coaches. I liked John Benton. I thought he was a good offensive line coach. I liked Janoko. I thought he was a good quarterbacks coach. Like, but like when you change head coaches, like there's just not going to be many holdovers, particularly when it's an offensive head coach. He's going to bring in his staff. So, there was nothing you could do.
Right.
Other than make Clint Kubiak the head coach.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Which would have been actually kind of hilarious based on how, like, every time you fire the head coach, you make one of his coordinators the head coach. But yeah. Bordelais says sell. Correct. The offensive Chelo. The offensive line is decimated. If we get the first pick in the 2026 draft, Mickey Loomis will give it to Sean Payton in Denver. I don't know if that's true, but I don't think they're going to draft a tackle. So we'll see. Although I did not think Fuaga played well. I've been a little disappointed in Fuaga's development in year 2. I really expect him to get back to the right side and become like a dominant player, and it hasn't been that. Like, I think you're okay with the tackles as they are, and you feel like you have 2 really good tackles, but like he did not play well yesterday. So either way, we'll see.
Rough to see too from the offensive line. Those two guys that obviously they're going to be building around in the future. They are the future.
Yeah, Pammy Whammy says absolutely. Even the light fixtures are for sale at this point. Which, yeah, why not? Hey, if you can give me a 7th round pick for a chandelier, I'll take it.
Jeff, one of the I guess most brutal like dagger calls for a fan, in the post game show that I can recall of. We had a female calling in, Pam, and she was saying how she's known as Black and Gold Girl. And Bobby's like, well, why'd you call in as Pam then? She goes, I don't want to be known as Black and Gold Girl anymore. And I was like, ouch, that hurts, man.
All right. See, this take, I don't agree with this take. It says we pissed away a 4th round pick. Like, I think Valet is going to be a part of your offense. You just need to run more than 40 plays in a game. Right. So again, like that's why I think Shaheed gets traded. I think that opens things up, or you could trade Cooks. I don't know if anyone really wants Cooks, but I don't have any, like, again, my issue with this trade is not that you made it. It's that the offense is just not clicking. And if you make the deals that you should be making on Tuesday, then that 4th round pick is going to come back and then some, and you should be getting a comp pick because they have no interest in playing Isaac Yiadom anymore outside of special teams. So you should get that comp pick back from Adebo. Like, they're going to have picks, or at least they should.
My problem with the whole Valet deal is the fact that I just haven't seen the plan for him yet, but I haven't really seen plan for much of an offense yet.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like, you bring in a guy after training camp, after the whole offense is installed, they can say he's completely up to speed. He's never going to be completely up to speed. Like, he's going to go through into full camp next year, and that's when you're really going to be able to kind of incorporate him. But no, I think he'll be more involved over the second half of the season, and we'll go from there. Like, I still think people really overvalue the type of player you can bring in the 4th round and be like, oh, it's going to be a consistent contributor.
Yeah, to me, we'll see. We'll see what that pick ends up turning into.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, name me all the 4th round picks over the last 10 years and tell me how many of them have been contributors. All right, let's keep going. Debbie Focha says they are not playing with good energy. Yeah, I think that was a frustrating thing from yesterday. Is it just didn't feel like a team that was worth watching. No,
that's a big change for sure.
Saint for Life says Moore isn't the problem, in my opinion. He's working with old players and not enough players. that is going to take this team to the NFL. I mean, yeah, this isn't the most talented roster in the NFL, but I still expect more. And I didn't mean, no pun intended. Like I just did. You expect more. You expect more. That one was pun intended.
Definitely to look like a professional team that wants to compete in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like I said, especially because of how time of possession worked out, it was just a glorified practice on Sunday in LA. You got to see another joint workout.
Yeah. And Matt Stafford was there this time.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm just trying to get all the way through here because I'm still on comments that were made like an hour ago. Eric Holland says Rattler was never the problem. I don't think anyone like did people really think Rattler was the problem? Like that was never my take.
No, we're just at the point now where, you're midpoint of the year. What's the second round pick have? We're not doing anything else.
So, like, my take was never that Rattler was the problem. My take was that, I don't know, I think we've seen enough to understand he's not the solution either. Like,
he's not your starting caliber quarterback.
He could probably be a starter in a better situation. But I think you're aspiring for a kind of a franchise-altering quarterback, and until you find one, then you're still looking. And the Saints are still looking. Again, would they have been better off yesterday playing Spencer? Yeah, probably. But that's not what the season is about. The season is about figuring out what that guy has. So yeah, like again, like I've been I don't know. I feel like I was very fair to Spencer. I don't think I was unfair to Spencer. Like there's this idea that he didn't get a fair shot at this, and I just disagree with that completely.
I think he got more than his fair share, man.
I mean, he got 13 starts, right? Is that right? He got 6 last year or 14 because he got 6 last year and 8 this year. Yeah, because they went 1-7. So I mean, how many 5th round picks in NFL history have gotten 14 starts to see if they have it? Like you probably count it on one hand, maybe 2. I looked this up at one point. I'll have to go find it. But it's not a long list of 5th round quarterbacks that actually got a chance, let alone a chance once. Like Gardner Minshew, I think was a 5th round quarterback, but he had a really strong start to his career, which allowed teams to give him chances. Right. The Saints saw him that rookie season, and I think he had won his first 2 games, and like he kind of caught lightning in a bottle, and that just got him on everyone's radar. I mean, when you start 0-6, it's like you don't see a lot of quarterbacks get stuck with, let alone stuck with a young quarterback in the building. So I don't know. Like I just think that's a miss. Like this idea that he's getting done dirty. He's not. Pammy Whammy says, you tank when you are a player or 2 away. We are far from that. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know, but I don't believe we have to even try to tank. So don't worry about it, folks.
Yeah, they're doing they're doing a perfectly fine job without actually tanking. The issue in this draft is like who you tanking for.
Yeah.
Like there's no Andrew Luck in this draft. Like there's no generational player in this draft.
That's what I said to A-Bear last night. I'm like, there's no Joe Burrow.
Yeah, right. And even if they're like, I mean, there might be a Joe Burrow. Because I don't think Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow was, did people view him as generational? Like, I don't think, like, when I say generational, I mean, like, we've been talking about him for like 3, like, Joe Burrow was on the best college football team of all time. And with perspective, it's very easy to say that.
I'm probably biased going through that and seeing, the entire season unfold and being so high on Joe, the QB of a coach's dad. And I just think he had the tools, the mentality, and unfortunately, he doesn't have the health to be that dude in the NFL. But I think he's on that level.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm just thinking at draft time, like people weren't tanking for Joe Burrow.
Like, right.
The Bengals got the number 1 overall pick, and it was obvious like, hey, they're taking Joe Burrow. But like Andrew Luck, it was like you could see it from like Peyton Manning, you could see it from years out who this was going to be, right? Like Victor Wembanyama in the NBA, like people were talking about him for like 3 years before he even got to the draft. Like that's not like I didn't even know who Fernando Mendoza was until this season. And say that's about me not paying attention to football, college football. You're right. I'm not the biggest college football fan in the world, but like I don't think Fernando Mendoza was a household name prior to this season for a lot of people. So that in and of itself means that there's no one necessarily worth tanking for.
At the beginning of the year, I thought everybody was all talking about Arch Manning to the Saints.
Yeah, right. The 52 players not named Chase Young. But no, like last year, for example, Cam Ward, like people weren't tanking for Cam Ward. Cam Ward was just the obvious number one pick for a team that needed a quarterback. And that's going to be the case for I think that's a better comparison to what's going to happen this year. And even like Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was a player of a caliber that people were talking about long before he got to the draft. And that happened to be a draft with several top quarterbacks in it along with him. But okay, I'm going to go back.
Watch the Saints get the top pick in the draft, and this is the time they trade down.
Hey, I mean, look at the Bears, right? Like the Bears were better off trading out of that first overall pick. So it's like it can happen, not going to happen, but like you can get a killing.
Oh yeah, right.
For that number one pick. And in a season where there isn't that like, oh man, they got to have him. Angel Morales does think that Spencer's getting done dirty. So I disagree, but hey.
You know what? They flashed that real quick on the the TV broadcast, Jeff. And I did appreciate after the touchdown, I saw Shough with Rattler and also with Jay Kaner on the sideline. And you could genuinely tell that Rattler and Haener were happy for Shough.
Yeah, Rattler's handling it well. Rattler's being a pro about it, and I give him a lot of credit for that.
I just thought it was like, all right, cool. These guys do have that camaraderie. We hear it talked about, but like I genuinely felt that when the camera flashed it after he had his touchdown yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean, like Shough was out there supporting Spencer for the first 8 games. You know, Shough wanted to be the starter too. You know, like, so no, I mean, I give I give Spencer a lot of credit. Like he's handling it well as you can. Like it's not easy getting benched. He's dealt with this situation before, right? Like he knows how he says to be. He understands body language. He understands people are going to be watching him. And no, he's handling it well. So again, I give him credit for that. Jimmy Gumbo says Saints without Eric McCoy is brutal. Yeah, that's true. When they don't have Eric McCoy, things don't go well. So, okay.
How much do we have to worry about him now? Like this is back-to-back seasons. Our stud center hasn't been available, even though we want to lift. He's on a pedestal for me as maybe the best guy, the best talent on the roster.
Yeah, no, it's a problem. And it's the second year in a row with a kind of an elbow injury. Like man. You never want to see injuries repeated, but we'll see. Like he's still a young player. He's still under contract. Like they're going to bring him back. But yeah, I mean, then you're going to be waiting next year. Like, oh God, is it going to happen again? And then if it does, and suddenly then it becomes like, well, is this the end of your career? Because you just can't keep, your arms are important for an offensive lineman, right?
A little bit.
Like, yeah, you need that. Like it's not a position where, wide receiver, you have an elbow injury, you're not constantly putting a ton of pressure on your elbows. That's different for, anyway. That's all I got. I think Kellen's about to talk. So
we send you now, folks. We take a break in our action on the Inside Black and Gold Podcast Network to send you over to Kellen Moore at the Saints facility.
Enjoy. I'm sure it's going to be a very informative day.
Who that, folks?
Bye. Thanks for coming. Have a good week. Say hi to your neighbor. I'm trying to have like Mr. Rogers energy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it worked. All right. Bye.